I don't hear you.
First and foremost, just offering all honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Thanking him for all things and thanking him for everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers, Shabbat Shalom L'kol.
Shabbat Shalom L'kol.
How's everybody feeling? Thanking the Most High God for life. Thanking him for strength. Thanking him for food, clothing, and shelter. Thanking the Most High God for he is good, for his mercy endures forever.
Amen.
How's everybody feeling? Amen. So, just want to touch on a couple of pieces of current events. So we're going to do a couple of different things today. We're going to go through the portion of Isaiah 5 and 6, and then we're going to kind of go through a presentation to discuss a couple of things. We, at a certain point, we need to learn how to educate ourselves, because we recognize and we realize that the education that we're getting here in this place, while certain aspects of it are needed and necessary, we also realize and recognize that certain aspects of it don't apply to us. And certain aspects of it aren't intended to apply to us to make us better. So we need to begin to educate ourselves, especially when it comes to some of the more subtle things that are being taught, some of the more subtle things that's happening. So we're going to go through a presentation about that. But before we go into those things, I just want to touch on a couple of pieces of current events. They talked about coronavirus this morning. One of the most interesting thing about this coronavirus is that this strain of coronavirus in this most recent stint is that, if you remember, probably about a month and a half ago, it wasn't talked about at all. And because it wasn't talked about, because it wasn't spoken about, even though it was known about, that was why the infection rate was able to go up as quickly as it did. Because people knew about it, they didn't talk about it, the information was somewhat suppressed, and so people just traveled here, traveled there, and then you started from a virus that said, well, we have this coronavirus that has affected 400 people, and pretty much every week is going up about the confirmed cases has gone up 15,000 cases, 20,000 cases, and now people are beginning to die from it. And at a certain point, they had to realize that we can't suppress this anymore, so they had to talk about it. Right. What also happened is you have a couple of people, you have people who are upset with the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, because the Center of Disease Control also knew about it. But when you had people traveling back from the place where the bulk of the cases originated, people weren't being checked, even though the government and the various governments knew. So with that being said, you have people who are able to travel, and what happens is you travel on a plane, 2 coughs on a plane, and now multiple people are infected. They're shutting down airports, and multiple people are infected. I went to BJ's the other day, and I could not find BJ's. Mm-hmm. Not one container of hand sanitizer in all of BJ's. That's right. Not one. That's right. Because what they feared would happen is what's happening. Mm-hmm. Because once you let it out, now you have that fear of being infected. So it's almost like that reverse propaganda that has happened when it came to us, And when it came to other people, now when people see an Asian person, whether they're Chinese or Japanese or whatever it is, when they see an Asian person, all they see is coronavirus because that's where it originated from, this strain, or that's where the majority of the cases were found. And they wanted to avoid that, but this is where we are. So sometimes it's not good to hold on to information and keep people in the dark, because at least if you let people know, then they could have been preparing themselves and been cautious a long time ago. Another interesting piece of news. So, for those of us who forgot about what happened, Harvey Weinstein finally was taken to jail. Not that he was found guilty, because he was found guilty, what? 2 weeks ago. He was found guilty 2 weeks ago. I think he thought he was going to get off. He was found guilty. He thought he was going to get bail. But again, with this Me Too movement and everything that's happened, the judge said no bail immediately. And his heart started to beat immediately. To the point that they took him to the hospital instead of taking him directly to jail, which is where he was supposed to go. So last time I checked, they had hospitals in jail too. But that's not what they did. They took him to Bellevue. And then the news of what happened with Weinstein, it kind of filtered down. Nobody was really talking about it. Nobody was talking about, well, has he gone to jail yet? Has he gone to jail yet? Until a picture surfaced.
Perk walk. You got the perk walk.
Until a picture surfaced, probably like Tuesday or Wednesday. A picture surfaced that this convicted felon sitting in a nice, comfortable leather reclining chair, watching TV, when his walker was all the way over there. So now, if anybody remember, he couldn't walk without the walker. He was the fastest walking man with a walker I've seen in my life. But he couldn't walk without the walker. And then a picture surfaced of him sitting in a recliner, watching TV, hanging out. And then the outrage came. Well, wait a minute. So from that Tuesday or Wednesday that this picture surfaced, he immediately got a stent put in, and he was immediately taken to jail. Because that's what he should have been in the first place. So, God is good.
All the time.
Because what happened, I'm sorry?
New trial.
He has his sentencing in New York, yes, on the 11th, and then he has to go to California to face other charges in California. One of the things that, and this is just for me, the portion is going to talk about it a little bit, but this is one of the things for me, when you have someone that is convicted of a crime, especially such a heinous crime as he was convicted of, naturally, as a family member, you want leniency. As a family member, you don't want to see them go through that. But a lot of times we don't consider the victims. Right. And how the victim feels when you give this individual leniency. When you don't prosecute this individual to the extent that anybody else who didn't have the money that he had would be prosecuted. Right. You got to think of the victims too. So we're going to go into this portion beginning in the book of Isaiah, chapter 5.
Verse 1, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Let me sing of my well-beloved, a song of my well-beloved, touching his vineyard. My well-beloved had a vineyard in a very fruitful hill.
So, the other thing that I wanted to touch on in introducing this portion is, in seeing some of the things that I've seen lately, especially this week, and I know both of them were discussed this morning, so I won't go into detail about it. But to see 15, 20 boys jump on that girl like that?
That was a girl.
It was a girl. 15-year-old girl. To see 15 boys jump on that girl. Now, I've seen, and I'm just telling you as a matter of fact. So when Chief Meku spoke this morning, and he talked about being tough and seeing things and being from a different generation with things were different, I'm telling you, I've seen things. I've seen people get jumped by 20, 30 individuals. I've seen it. I've never seen 15 boys get jumped, one girl get jumped by 15, 20 boys. I've never seen that. That's something that I've never seen. And also with the incident in the video with the young man that happened in Canarsie with the police, and of course we've seen many different videos similar to this. It's nothing new. So I watched it, and you almost become numb to it after a certain point. But when I saw the one cop come in and jump and stomp on that man's ankle like that in the midst of everybody else, there was also a video where, I don't remember what state it's in right now, but a cop came in to the school and put handcuffs, not handcuffs, it was the ties, and arrested a 6-year-old girl in Florida. And I looked at it. And two things become apparent. One of those things being what God said in Deuteronomy 28, that you will be astonished at the sight of your eyes. That's true. When God said that, God meant it. And the other thing that became apparent is we need God in our lives so much it's not even funny. Because the acts that are being committed right now, the things that are happening, it lets you know that those are acts committed by people who don't have God in their life. Those are acts that are committed by a people who don't have, when you read in Isaiah 1, and Isaiah 1 says that they're sick, and they have wounds, and they've neither been bound up, nor pressed, nor mollified with oil. That's us. That's us. Because there's this conversation about maybe the individual, and I'm going to go back to the incident with the girl, with the young lady and the 15, 20 boys for a minute. And I'm going to say, so maybe if you ever had a fight with somebody, anybody who's ever had a fight, you know that you and the person, y'all have an issue. So there's feelings and there's venom between you and that person, and that's why y'all are fighting. But there's no issue with the 19 other people that came in and jumped. They weren't upset. They weren't angry. So what causes you to come and act like this on a person you've never seen? On a person you've never met? A young lady who they said, as soon as they pushed her to the floor, she curled up, and there was with this one picture of one guy just coming and just jumping right on the young lady. We need God in our life. Yes. And so this portion is going to talk about God and what he did for us, him being in our lives, and we still couldn't really get the connection. Right. Still didn't really feel what God was showing. So the portion starts out by God trying to find another way to speak to a people who had turned away from him. And he's not speaking to that people in anger. He's not speaking to them in rage. But yet he's coming and he's saying, let me sing to my well-beloved a song. Coming to us in a manner where if most people would come to us in this manner, we would be receptive. And so that's how he's coming. Let me sing my well-beloved a song. Come on.
Verse 2. And he digged it and cleared it of stones and planted it with the choicest vine and built a tower in the midst of it and also hewed out a vat therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes.
Right. So what he's saying is he had this vineyard and he pruned it. So he pulled all of the weeds out. And he took out all of the undesirable things and he planted this vineyard. He said he planted the choicest of vineyards. And then it said he built a tower in the midst of it. Because when it comes to vineyards, what happens is the way vines grow is vines kind of grow and they kind of grow around. So with the tower being in the midst, the vine will be able to grow around the tower and continue to grow. And he hewed out a vat, and he said, and he looked for some real good grapes to come forth. However,
and it brought forth wild grapes.
come on.
And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard?
So now, when God is saying, when he's talking now, think about you. And think about the impression that he's making in your life and everything that he's doing for us. Because guess what? With all of those cases of coronavirus and the coughing and the stop, drop, and roll that was done at the bank earlier this week and all of those different things, how many people in here are really, really concerned about getting coronavirus? Not a hand. You know why? Because you know and you feel in your heart that God is going to protect you from it. That's why. If you ask that question anywhere else, 95% of the hands are going to go up. But in God's house, not one. Not even somebody trying to be funny. Because you hope and you truly, truly believe that because of the things that I give forth to God, maybe he'll provide the protection that he said he would. And a lot of the times, it's not that we're concerned about whether God can give the protection because we know he can. We're concerned about whether or not we deserve it. And that's what happens. We're concerned about, I know he can do it, but will he do it for me? And that just lets us know we just got a little bit more work to do. And it's okay. It's all right to have more work to do. Because the important part is understanding and recognizing that you have a little bit more work to do. He touched on it this morning when he said, it's good to have shame when you do something wrong. Because that means you have a conscience. That's right. It means you have a conscience. And if you have a conscience and you have something eating away at you about what you did, then maybe for the next time, if the opportunity presents itself, we might just make a better decision. All right. And that's what that conscience does. That's what that shame does. Come on.
Middle of 4. That I have not done in it. Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes. And now come, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away.
Hold on, I'm sorry. So now, so he's asking, what more could I have done? For us in these days and times, what more could he have done? We came from slavery to, things are still bad. We got houses of 1 car, 2 cars, 3 cars. You're old. We got houses. We got a pick of whatever we want in the fridge. You want lamb? Go to the store, get lamb. Whatever you want. What more could he have done? And how much are we giving back? So then it goes from a well-beloved song to the song gets a little bit more intense.
Right.
Someone like a Teddy Pendergrass song. He usually starts out pretty nice and pretty level, and then he starts to get aggressive. Just like a Teddy Pendergrass song. Come on.
I will take away the hedge thereof, and it shall be eaten up.
And I'm going to let the wolves in. I'll take away the protection, and I'm going to let the wolves in. Come on.
I will break down the fence thereof, and it shall be trodden down. 6. And I will lay it waste, it shall not be pruned nor hoed, but there shall come up briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds, that they rain no rain upon it. For the vineyard of Yahweh of hosts is the house of Yisrael. And the men of Judah,
The house of who?
the house of Yisrael.
Okay.
And the men of Judah, the plant of his delight. And he looked for just...
When, I just want y'all to remember that verse for later on. The house of Israel, the men of Yehuda. Come on.
And he looked for justice, but behold, violence. For righteousness, but behold, a cry.
He looked for the things that he gave us that were going to make us better, and we did opposite. He looked for, you know how when you're a parent and you have a child and you know what you put in your child, for them to come and do something different than what you know you put in them, you know you look at that child sometime and you like, this can't be mine. Because I didn't teach you that.
Right.
I didn't show you that.
Come on.
So where'd this come from? And so this is God. I didn't teach you that. I didn't show you that. So where'd this come from? Come on.
8. Woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no room, and ye be made to dwell alone in the midst of the land. In my ears said Yahweh of hosts, of a truth, many houses shall be desolate, even great and fair, without inhabitant. For 10 acres of vineyard shall yield 1 bath, and the seed of a omer shall yield an ephah.
So now, I'm not exactly sure how much a bath is, but if you talk about 10 acres, that's a lot.
That's right.
And what it's showing you is that you're going to go, and you're going to go out, and you're going to work. And your check is going to be nowhere near representative of how hard you worked.
How hard you work.
We do overtime and double overtime and triple overtime. And it's people who do 20 hours a week and they make more. They pay more in taxes than we make in salary. You realize that? I mean, there's some real rich people in this world. When President Obama bailed out the banking industry, just think about this for a minute. When President Obama bailed out the banking industry and he said, if y'all borrow money from the government, if you take this bailout, you are going to have to limit the bonus that the CEOs get to $500,000. And people started committing suicide. How am I supposed to live on $500,000? What are you kidding?
Right.
How many of us ever seen $500,000? I'm just saying. They offered me $500,000. I'll take any bailout you want. But there are people who just don't know how to live like that.
That's right.
Yet, God's people always find a way to endure. I want to show you the difference between Bill Cosby went to jail. Okay. Harvey Weinstein just got to jail. Okay. Harvey Weinstein couldn't bear the thought. Bill Cosby went to jail, and now they so upset that they put Bill Cosby in jail. They said Bill Cosby is lifting weights. I thought he was blind. They said Bill Cosby is lifting weights. He's slim and trimmed down to 176 pounds. Inmates are lining up to get Bill Cosby to talk to them about how to be better. You put God people in a situation and we make lemonade. Just saying. Bill Cosby ain't fall out in the... And then you know what he said? They interviewed him and they asked him. They said, listen, so when it... Because I've never seen where you get 3 to 10 years as a sentence. I've never seen that. Usually, I mean, I know you get 25 to life and all that. 3 to 10, that was a little weird. They said, when they asked him, when it's time for you to come up for parole, will you admit or show remorse or apologize for what you did? And his response was, I didn't do it. If that's what they expected from me, I'll stay 10 years. Because after that, you won't owe me. I won't owe you anything.
That's right.
It showed how my stance on this. God people. Come on.
Verse 11. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, that tarry late into the night, till wine inflame them.
It's not to say you can't have a drink or 2 drinks, but early in the morning drink,
Right.
late at night drink,
All day.
that's a lot of drinks.
That's right.
The other day I was walking. The other day I was walking, and this lady came up to me, ran up to me, and she's like, "How you doing, mister?" I'm still bugging off this whole mister thing. "How you doing, mister? Can I get $1?" And then she immediately said, "Don't worry, I don't smoke crack. I just smoke a little weed sometime." And I was already reaching in my pocket to give her $1 just because I wanted to just get her away. And as I gave her $1 and I was walking down the block, she was still talking. And she was saying, "Just a little weed sometime. Just a little weed. Thank you, mister. Just a little weed sometime." We a mess. We a mess. We a mess. Just show you when God punish, God punish. Come on.
Verse 12. And the harp and the psaltery, the tabret and the pipe, and wine are in their feasts, but they regard not the work of Yahweh.
So we party, we dance, we drink. Don't think about God.
Right? Come on.
We party, we dance, we drink.
Uh-huh.
Don't think about God.
That's right.
Come on.
Neither have they considered the operation of his hands.
Don't even regard the work. Neither consider the operation of his hands. And God don't ask for much.
That's right.
Just ask for a little bit.
Right.
Come on.
Verse 13. Therefore my people are gone into captivity for want of knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude are parched with thirst. Therefore the netherworld has enlarged her desire, and opened her mouth without measure, and down goes their glory, and their tumult, and their uproar, and he that rejoices among them. And man is bowed down, and man is humbled, and the eyes of the lofty are humbled. But Jehovah of hosts.
But hold on. So what happened is God is saying, so we still don't listen. Things happen. We still don't listen. The grave opens her mouth. Down goes their glory. Man is humbled. And yet, Jehovah of hosts is exalted through justice. Because regardless to what happens, God is still good.
That's right.
Regardless what happens, God is still king. Come on.
But Jehovah of hosts is exalted through justice, and God, the Holy One, is sanctified through righteousness. Then shall lambs feed as in their pasture, and the waste places of the fat ones shall wanderers eat. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as it were with a cart rope, that say, let him make speed, let him hasten his work, that we may see it. And let the counsel of the Holy One of Yisrael draw nigh and come, that we may know it.
We act like we ready sometime.
Right.
We act like we ready sometime and we want God to come. God said to Moses, he said, I can't dwell in the midst of those people because I'm too holy for that.
Right.
Because they're going to start to do little things that they do, and I'm just going to lash out because I'm altogether different than all that. Right. So and yet we say, we take the firmest of inaccurate stances and still say, let God judge me then.
Right.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on.
20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that change darkness into light and light into darkness, that change bitter into sweet and sweet into bitter.
Change everything. Come on.
Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight.
Show them, and it still don't matter. Come on.
Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, that justify the wicked for reward, and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him.
Earlier on today, he talked about, Chief Michael talked about, he said, it's hard for us to come together when wrong things go on.
That's right.
And we see it. God put us in a place of judgment so we can call a brother, call a sister to the side, address the issue, and everybody be right. Then, that's what you said, right? Then we won't have a problem coming to this place or that place, but not before.
Right.
Then, when we learn how to judge right, we don't have a problem coming to this place or that place, but not before. It says, and so the mighty to drink wine that justify the wicked for a reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. Showing that we put more stake in who this is rather than whether they right or wrong.
Right.
And when it comes to judgment, that's dangerous. I want to read something for you in Psalms. Psalms 82, where it says, God stands in the congregation of God in the midst of the judges he judges. When you judging, God is there. What happens when you judge with God there and you judge wrong? What happens when you judging and God is there and you choose friendship or family over right or wrong? And God is there. Says God stands in the congregation of God because it's still God's place, not our place, God's place. Standing in the congregation of God in the midst of the judges, he judges. And then he says, how long will ye judge unjustly and respect the persons of the wicked? How long will we do that? How long will we allow that to happen? How long will we not speak up? How long? Come on.
24. Therefore, as the tongue of fire devours the stubble.
Based on this, because every action has a reaction, equal and opposite. So based on this, here comes this.
And as the chaff is consumed in the flame, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust.
At the bottom.
Because they have rejected the law of the Lord of hosts and contemned the word of the Holy One of Yisrael.
You know, there's this portion in Numbers, and I'm going to have to hurry up. There's this portion in Numbers where the people asked for water again. The people started complaining again. And God said to Moses, how long will these people despise me?
Right.
All I did was ask for water.
All right. Come on.
All I did was ask was quails.
Right.
All I did was ask for something that God already put in place for you to partake of. Right. And you want something else. Come on.
25. Therefore is the anger of Yahweh kindled against his people, and he has stretched forth his hand against them, and has smitten them. And the hills did tremble, and their carcasses were as refuse in the midst of the streets. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still.
So in the midst of all that, he still has a path for people to return. God is good. Come on.
26. And he will lift up an ensign to the nations from far, and will hiss unto them from the end of the earth. And behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. None shall be weary nor stumble among them. None shall slumber nor sleep. Neither shall the girdle of their loins be loosed, nor the latchet of their shoes be broken. Whose arrows are sharp and all their bows bent. Their horses' hoofs shall be counted like flint, and their wheels like a whirlwind. Their roaring shall be like a lion. They shall roar like young lions. Yea, they shall roar and lay hold of the prey and carry it away safe, and there shall be none to deliver. And they shall roar against them.
When we turn away from God, that fence, that simple fence that God took away, gave leeway to all this. Because the funny thing about the children of Israel is either you're for God or you're against him.
That's right.
There's no middle
There's no
ground
in
for
between.
us.
Yeah, come on.
There's no in between for us.
That's right.
No gray area for us. The thing about it, though, is when you good, you good. But when you not, oh, man, come on.
30. And they shall roar against them in that day like the roaring of the sea. And if one look unto the land, behold, darkness and distress. And the light is darkened in the skies thereof.
Come on.
Isaiah chapter 6, verse 1. Hallelujah. In that year that King Uzziah died, I saw Yahweh sitting upon a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly.
So hold on. So this is, just to be clear, Isaiah did not see God. Isaiah was having a vision that God caused him to see a representation based on what he wanted him to do. And this was important for Isaiah because a lot of times, like us, we want to say something, but we really just don't have the strength to sometimes. Sometimes we want to say something, but we just don't really have the courage. Sometimes we want to say something, but because we're so wrapped up and engulfed in some of the things that we did, that in our own uncertainty, that we don't know how well it's going to be received. So this was a vision that God gave and showed Isaiah, and he showed Isaiah all his holiness. Because I know a lot of times we look and we try to picture certain things. So this is just one of those chapters that you just need to try to close your eyes, look, and try to understand. Right. Come on.
3. And one called unto
So
another.
you have all of these beings flying around. Come on.
And said, Holy, holy, holy
Now, can I get
is
an
Jehovah of
amen?
hosts.
I said, can I
The
get
whole
an amen?
earth is full of his
Can I
glory.
get an amen? If y'all can't read, say amen over the reader. We need to keep going.
Holy, holy,
Can I get
holy
an
is
amen?
Jehovah of hosts.
Can I get an
The
amen?
whole earth is full of his
The whole
glory.
earth. Come on.
And the posts of the door were moved at the voice of them
You
that
know
called,
right they
and
did.
the whole house was filled with smoke.
I bet you it was.
Then
Because
said
God,
I.
no, hold on, because God is talking right now. Actually, God hadn't even started speaking yet. This was just God's introduction to Isaiah. This was just the introduction. Just like when they went on Mount Sinai, God had to allow me to introduce myself.
Okay.
And it was smoke and thunder and lightning and a horn and a horn
Sound
and
of
a
the
horn
horn.
and a horn.
Grew
Because y'all need
exceedingly
to
loud.
understand what y'all dealing with.
That's right.
So all of this shaking and the doorposts and the smoke, all that happened, that's just a very, very fine introduction. Come on.
Verse 5. Then said I, woe is me, for I am undone.
Oh, yes.
Because-
so you really want to see God? I'm just saying. Because everybody think they want to see God and they want to rush God and they want to let God judge me.
All right.
Isaiah saw all this. Woe is me, for I am undone. Come on.
Because I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips.
He recognized his own. He recognized his own flaws. Come on.
For my eyes have seen the King, Yahweh of hosts. 6. Then flew unto me one of the seraphim, with a glowing stone in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from off the altar. And he touched my mouth with it and said, Lo, this has touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin expiated.
So now, you know that it had to be comfort because he's standing there and he's coming with a glowing stone to put it towards his face, and he touches his lips, and now your sin is purged. Because God is clean. And God is holy. And you can't just come to God just any old way.
That's right.
Come on.
Verse 8, and I heard the voice of Yahweh saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, here am I, send me. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not.
So he wanted to go. He wanted the job. That was the job. Go. Tell them. Show them. But they're not going to hear. Show them. Tell them. They're not going to hear. Why? Come on.
10, make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy.
Like now.
And shut their eyes.
Like now.
Lest they, seeing with their eyes, and hearing with their ears, and understanding with their heart, return and be healed.
You don't come to God when you feel like it. You come to God when he called.
That's right.
And guess what? If he called and you don't answer, you better hope he leave a message. Or you better hope he call back.
That's right.
God called, we answer.
That's right.
And when you don't, when we don't, that's us. Not him.
That's right.
So he said, because at this point, when it came, Israel was right on the cusp of being out. Judah, a couple of more years to go. And God wasn't ready to heal yet because God had just started. Come on.
11, then said I, Yahweh, how long? And he answered, until cities be waste without inhabitant, and houses without man, and the land become utterly waste. And Yahweh have removed men far away, and the forsaken places be many in the midst of the land. And if there be yet a tenth in it, it shall again be eaten up.
Remnant, come on.
As a terebinth, and as an oak
shall again be eaten up. Because this is, if you're going to make it, God want to see that you really, really want to make it. Come on.
And as an oak whose stock remains when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the stock thereof.
Those who stand firm like that stock, those are the ones that are going to be okay. I can't really speak for everybody else. How's everybody feeling?
Oh.
No. How's everybody feeling?
Oh.
Okay. All right.